Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today we're going to look at the studio releases, the 4 solo albums from one of the most respected and beloved musicians in rock history, Mr. David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. It's funny, when you look back on the history of Pink Floyd, here you have this very notable guy in the band, leader of the band for many, many years, and co-leader along with Roger Waters during the band's heyday. A guy that you would think would have more solo albums than 4. He's had plenty of time to do them. He's kind of spaced them all out pretty well. You know, released one in the late 70s, another one in the early mid-80s, and then we didn't see another one till the early 2000s, and then one just a couple of years ago. So hopefully we'll see more. Now that kind of Pink Floyd is really no more. We're hoping that we'll see more from David Gilmour as far as solo albums go, but I guess that remains to be seen. But all 4 pretty fine. I like all 4 of them quite a bit. They're each a little bit different from each other, which is good. But I think all very notable, containing plenty of his trademark guitar stylings and vocals. Couple that are a little better than the others, though, I think. So let's get started. So I'm going to start off coming in at number 4 is going to be the one he released most recently in 2015. That's Rattle That Lock. There's the man himself on the back. Okay, looking a little older, a little wiser. He's a little mellower. And that's kind of the feel you get on this album. It's much more of a mellower album where we see David exploring new styles, little different musical ideas and things like that. Got a good cast of characters here. He's got Robert Wyatt. That's right, that Robert Wyatt, the Canterbury legend. David Crosby and Graham Nash. Phil Manzanera from Roxy Music. John Caron, Jules Holland from Squeeze. And a whole bunch of other people helping out here. Kind of starts off with a song called 5 a.m. It's got those typical haunting Gilmour guitar strains, a nice little instrumental. Leads into the title track, which is more of an upbeat, poppy, kind of funky song. It's got a really good pop hook. Boat Lies Waiting, big and lush, lots of vocals and backing vocals, crying guitar solos, In Any Tongue. Could be like a leftover Pink Floyd track. It's just real moody and atmospheric. Great vocal from David. Nice, really nice guitar solo, very energetic, emotional guitar solo. And then, you've got The Girl in the Yellow Dress, which is the real different track on here. It's kind of like a bluesy lounge jazz sort of piece with piano, and it's got that kind of like laid back kind of rhythm going to it. Very, very different. It kind of works. You got to wonder if that's something that he wanted to explore. And then, the album closer is And Then, which again is another very typical Gilmour kind of instrumental, atmospheric instrumental with those, distant, emotional crying guitar solos, which really, really nice. I will say this album, on the most part, is pretty laid back. I've always liked his vocals quite a bit. You can finally start to hear on this album that his voice is taking on that kind of, he's what, in his 70s now? You can kind of hear a little bit of strain on the vocals, which wasn't really present on previous releases, but and that's okay. I think Dave Gilmour, the elder statesman, is quite okay with me. It's a fine album. It's an enjoyable album. Just, a bit different variety, different flavors on this album. Absolutely. Next up, we're going to go to 1984's About Face. This was a, pretty popular release from him. Sold pretty well. Co-produced by Bob Ezrin. It's got that big 80s sound to it. Lots of synths on this album. It's got that typical mid-80s production kind of going. A lot of musical guest stars on here. You got Jeff Porcaro on drums from Toto, Pino Palladino on bass. Of course, he would wind up being the bass player for The Who many years later. John Lord from Deep Purple, Steve Winwood, Ray Cooper on percussion, Michael Kamen on all sorts of orchestrations and things like that. A lot of players on this album. Those are some of the more notable ones. It's got kicking off with Until We Sleep, which has plenty of soaring guitar and, kind of Pink Floyd style bombast. Really, really good upbeat song. Murder, pretty haunting song. Could have been a leftover from any Pink Floyd album from around that era. Gentle acoustic guitar, nice atmosphere. Love on the Air and All Lovers Are Deranged, both written by Pete Townsend. Ironically, though, only one of them really sounds like it could be a Who track. That's All Lovers Are Deranged. That's actually a really catchy, good rock song. Good hooks, good arrangements that I could totally hear Daltrey singing that and Townsend playing the guitars. That's a very, very good track. Blue Light, that's an interesting song. That's kind of a really upbeat, kind of rhythmic, groovy tune. It's got some cool kind of like delay going on the guitar licks. It's got horns. It's very upbeat, very melodic, right? And then you got Let's Get Metaphysical, which is the only instrumental on this album, and it comes pretty late in the album. And that's, again, another very typical David Gilmour style instrumental. You know, the guitar kind of up front carrying the melody, emotional, kind of like crying in the distance. That's kind of the feeling I always get from hearing Gilmour's guitar strains on the Stratocaster. Although he's got holding a Telecaster everywhere on this album, so I'm not sure exactly what he used for that track. But either way, it's probably a Fender guitar, right? So that's coming in number 3. Number 2, this is actually one that I got fairly recently. I actually, for whatever reason, I never picked this up back in the day when it was released, but it's actually one of his best, and that's On an Island from 2006. Very, very fine album. Arguably could be his most proggy album out of his solo albums, along with the first one. Starts off with a song called Castellarizen, however he says that. Absolutely soaring guitar work on that. Again, if you love classic Floyd, that's what this song sounds like. That moves right into the title track, which has got simmering keyboards and organ and very, very moody. Again, it's got a very strong Pink Floyd feel. You got the absolutely gorgeous The Blue, the ragged guitars of the harder rocking Take a Breath. Okay, a lot of good gritty guitar work on that. You got Red Sky at Night, another very cool tune, kind of jazzy, and you got David playing sax on it. Go figure. It's funny, the first time I heard that song, I was kind of listening to it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Who's playing sax on that? And I'm looking, and I'm like, there's no sax player listed. And then I'm like, David Gilmour, saxophone on Red Sky at Night. Pretty damn cool. And then a really, really nice song later on the track list called A Pocket Full of Stones. Just really gentle and really soothing. Just really nice album. Really good. Great production on this album as well. Great instrumentation, good songs. Fantastic guitar work, as always. But, the number 1 has got to be the first one, right? Self-titled David Gilmour from 1978. I mean, this is a pretty special album. Probably one of the stronger solo albums from, any member of any of the big prog bands from the 70s. We're talking, Yes and ELP and Tull and Genesis and so on and so forth. Definitely ranks up there with some of the best from Squire and Hackett and Anderson and Gabriel, so on and so forth. It starts off with a great instrumental, Mahalis. You got There's No Way Out of Here, Raise My Rent, Definitely, I'm going deaf. Some great more kind of pop rock songs, as well as lush prog and killer instrumentals. There's even some of the instrumental tunes kind of border on a little bit of jazz fusion at times, which is kind of really cool. There's a little bit of bluesy stuff on here, some hard rock, very strong vocals. This to me is more like a rockin' Pink Floyd album. Okay, it's less kind of with the atmosphere and a little more upbeat. I mean, there's plenty of atmosphere on here, obviously, but the kind of dreamy stuff that Floyd always does. A little more heavy hitting on this album. It's not like a big hard rock record at all, but it's got its moments, and I think just, again, good variety on here. Fantastic guitar playing. Killer vocals. It's, almost half instrumental, half vocal tunes, which I think is kind of nice. And big seller here. This was a gold record here in the U.S., Gold record here means 500,000 copies plus. Not quite at platinum. Platinum is a million plus, so it's probably somewhere in between. Great stuff. So that's my number 1 pick from the David Gilmour solo album discography. Coming in at number 1. Coming in number 2, On an Island. Coming in number 3, About Face. And coming in at number 4, but still quite fine, is Rattle That Lock. Curious to see how you guys rank the David Gilmour solo catalog. He's got some cool live albums too, quite a few of them actually, but good solo stuff here. So hopefully we'll get another one. It's been 5 years since Rattle That Lock. We'll see. Does he have another one in him, or is he fully retired? I don't know. Time will tell, but a musical treasure, Mr. David Gilmour. Some absolutely fine songs and guitar playing and vocals throughout all these albums, as well as the entire Pink Floyd catalog. So definitely someone that deserves the iconic status that he has earned, right? So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We are on Facebook. We're here all the damn time on YouTube, and we're on Twitter as well. So check us out in all these places. Coming up tomorrow, actually later tonight, Stephen Reed's coming on the show. We're both going to review the brand new Kansas album, The Absence of Presence. That's coming up tonight, as well as throw out a couple other reviews on some stuff. The new Celeste, the new Toto, the new French TV. Stephen's got a couple others as well, so we're going to kind of do 2 episodes tonight, and some new review stuff, some new product reviews. So that's coming up tonight. Tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, bright and early, Martin Popoff and Jack Toledano are joining me for a deep cut dive into the catalog of Rush, Canada's big time hard rock / progressive metal / progressive rock, whatever you want to call them, heroes. Okay, so you're going to get 15 tracks, 15 recommendations from us, and that should be a fun one. So that's coming up. So stay tuned. Annie Haslam from Renaissance coming up this weekend as well. And some big things happening next week. Got a couple interviews lined up from big-time players. So all sorts of good stuff happening, so you don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.